Greetings again, everyone, and welcome to another episode of OSI Today, the podcast featuring news and views from around the Office of Special Investigations. I'm Wayne Amon from OSI Public Affairs, and in this edition, we continue our special series, My OSI Journey, which showcases the diversity and inclusion of our command-wide members. And today, I'm very pleased to be joined by Mr. Aaron Davies, East Branch Analyst with the OSI Investigations Collections Operations Nexus Center. Sir, welcome aboard to the program. So glad you could finally join us.
Thank you for having me.
Sir, I noticed in your biography off mic that you have a very eclectic road to OSI, which not many people have. Now, specifically by that, I mean you actually were integrated to three different branches of the military services, the Marine Corps, the Army, and now the Air Force. Can you kind of spin our listeners up as to how all that came about for you?
Well, I enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1998 out of high school. My first enlistment was as a communications technician under the avionics field. I did that for about 4 years. And then upon re-enlisting, I changed to MI, which the Marine Corps intelligence equivalent.
Right.
Got a lot of tactical experience, and I did all three of my deployments, two to Iraq and one to Afghanistan, supporting infantry battalions. I also got a little bit of regional experience. After separating, I contracted for a little while for a Department of Defense agency.
Right.
And I did that for about 6.5 years until about from 2011 to 2017. 2017, I transitioned to civil service, working for the Department of the Army in an overseas assignment. And then after about 18 months of doing that, I was picked up by OSI. So I've been with OSI since 2019.
Right. Now, how did working with other branches of the military kind of posture you to, or kind of set the table, if you will, for your time with the Office of Special Investigations?
Well, I think what the moving around and my diverse career background taught me to do was to be flexible, be humble, and to adjust. Become a professional student, if you will.
Right.
So I had a lot of help from a lot of the leadership team in the ICON, a lot of help from the 9I agents, just helping me to become oriented to OSI, which is a very unique organization.
Right. Now, in talking to some other folks on this particular series, My OSI Journey, that have also experienced contact and working relations with other branches of the service, was there kind of a getting used to period as far as talking in Air Force lingo and things along that line?
A little, not so much Air Force lingo, but OSI specific lingo. That was a bit of an adjustment, but overall, I had some interactions earlier in my careers working with OSI, so it wasn't a complete culture shock. But once again, the leadership team of the ICON and the 9I agents were very helpful in helping me become oriented and just really kind of learning what OSI is.
Right. I would imagine that was, like you said, quite a benefit to you. They welcome you with open arms and make you a part of the team right away, because I guess, OSI is always about teamwork. And I guess you've really noticed that when you came on board in the ICON Center.
It is, and I've noticed that is a distinct characteristic of small organizations, because you're sort of you're you're working together and you have so few resources, you're forced to play well with others.
Ah,
You
I
don't
see.
have the
Okay.
luxury,
Right.
you don't have the luxury of an abundance of resources.
I see. Okay, very good. Sir, were there any real challenges that you faced once you joined OSI, and how did you overcome those, or was it already wrapped in with the folks that kind of spoon-fed you along as you joined the organization?
I think the biggest thing was really trying to orient myself to um, OSI, because OSI is very unique culturally, operationally, and analytically.
Hmm.
It's a very different organization than any of its counterparts.
I see.
So that was an adjustment. Also getting into because it's primarily an investigative agency, it really forced me to cultivate patience
Ah, I see.
because there's no whether it's investigations or operations, these are things that take years to develop.
Uh-huh.
It's not like doing support to kinetic operations on the MI side or
Right.
anything like that. So it requires a lot more patient work, a lot more diligent work, and you really have to be in it for the long haul.
I see. Is it a fair statement to say that there's a whole lot of attention to detail? Because I know when I was in my earlier years in the military, my previous career field is in intelligence. You did have to pay a lot of attention to the finite aspects of things. Is that a pretty fair statement to make about what you do within the Far East Branch and Icon Center?
Well, I think whether regardless of the service, regardless of the career field, there's always an emphasis on attention to detail because we hold the special trust and confidence of our brothers and sisters in combat,
Hmm.
that that we're looking out for their lives and their best interests.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but I think with OSI, there's a unique um, aspect of attention to detail because we're dealing with certain aspects of Executive Order 12333 and the FISA that are very distinct
Uh-huh.
from anything that I did on the MI side.
I
And
see.
there's this constant attention to detail to make sure that we're being responsible with regard to how we treat U.S. persons,
Right.
which is a very broad uh, definition. It's much broader and much more detailed than I was previously aware of.
I see. I see. Very well said. Moving on, sir. Who or what inspires you to do your best within the organization?
That special trust and confidence that we sort of touched on earlier, understanding that everything that we do impacts lives, and really, well, lives not only of our brothers and sisters who are serving, but also the family members.
Ah, good point. Very good point. Yeah, because it is a far-reaching thing. Ramifications reach well beyond the member themselves. So I think you hit a very good point on that particular aspect of the job. Um, as far as things that are gratifying for you in your particular position. As far as being a member of OSI. Is there any one thing that you can kind of pinpoint or target that is most gratifying for you, or is it kind of a combination of things, do you think?
It's a combination of things, but what I appreciate is the just the organizational culture of trying to embrace diversity of thought, embrace innovation, embrace change, and actually give everyone in OSI the opportunity to learn, which incurs risk of making mistakes. So,
Hmm.
and instead of being the kind of organization that punishes people for making mistakes. From my observation, it's the kind of organization that sits down and helps people learn, so that not only the individual can avoid making the same mistake in the future, but the organization as a whole can learn from that experience and avoid making those sort of mistakes.
Well, you mentioned a very important point as far as learning, from mistakes. Obviously, that's how people and organizations grow. So I think you, again, touched on a very good point, because I know, in talking with, top four leadership, learning from mistakes is a good thing, and that's how organizations become even better and do their jobs to their utmost. Now, shifting gears a little bit, Mr. Davies. I know that in the past, when I sent you the questions for this interview, you said it would be tough to address the question if you would be able to do it all over again, as far as anything you would change about your OSI career. Since you've only been with OSI, just for a handful of years, would there be anything that you would do differently on your road to becoming a member of OSI? Granted, hindsight's always 20/20, but is there anything that, as you look back on your eclectic career, to say the least, that you might do differently?
I don't know, because honestly, I never, if you would have come to me 10 years ago or even 5 years ago and
Right,
asked me if I was, going to work for OSI,
right.
I wouldn't have been able to tell you.
Uh-huh,
It's just one of those things that I wound up in a place,
uh-huh.
and I think that happens to a lot of people, because you keep your head down and you're focused on the work, and you're moving from one project to another, one step to another,
Right.
and then when you look up, you're in a place that you didn't expect to be.
Uh-huh. Right. 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 Yeah, it'd be nice if we all had crystal balls and we could predict things, but you're absolutely right. So that was very well said. Sir, what direction do you envision OSI going in the future now that you've been a member of the organization for a little while?
Um, I I think that is I think that OSI is really it's positioned well to meet the
Okay.
changing threat, that our adversaries um, are,
Uh-huh.
to not only the Air Force, but also to the country as a whole.
Uh-huh.
Not only is Because we're dealing with things that we haven't dealt with before.
Right.
There's aspects of political war, aspects of information operations, propaganda,
Hmm.
um, threats to technology in unconventional ways,
Right.
that the nation's never really faced before. And I think that OSI is bringing in talent and doing structural realignments to meet those challenges.
Uh-huh.
Um, I appreciate that this is a learning organization, which is helpful,
Right.
because these are new problems. We don't have manuals to deal with them.
Sure.
We're writing the
Sure.
manuals as we go along.
Right. Now, was it again safe to say, sir, that based on what you just said, that there's never a dull moment? It's always something new every day for OSI, as you mentioned, and things change every day. Like technology changes. It seems like even people's cell phones change every few months. It seems like, but it also seems like you said, the world situation changes at such a high rate, and the ops tempo is so high that it really is an exciting time to be working with OSI as far as coming to work every day. Is that a pretty fair statement?
I don't think anyone's bored.
I see. Okay. Very,
Uh,
very
I, I
good.
think I think
Yeah.
we're all engaged. And I also appreciate that the command, is also taking an active role in helping people deal with the stress of being so busy,
Right. Right. Good
and
point. Very good point. Yeah.
really
Yeah.
trying to take people, really trying to take care of people.
Uh-huh.
So I do appreciate that.
Right. Well, our command chief, has always mentioned, Chief Byrne Flint, that the people is the number one weapon system that OSI has, and so that's a very nice way to put it. Getting into diversity and inclusion for a moment. How foundational do you view that as far as the success of OSI? I think you touched on it before, as far as different people, different ideas coming into the organization to work with, with the same mission in mind, the same end game in mind. But as far as diversity and inclusion, how do you view that, as a member of the command?
I think it's important, especially since we're in a new era and we're meeting threats that we don't have templates for. We're dealing with situations that we can't really reference a manual to work our way through. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because and I think diversity is important because we have the aspect of the older and more experienced analysts and agents who understand the history of our adversaries and the organization, mm-hmm. and how they've interacted. But we're also bringing in new talent who can look at things through a different lens, through a new lens, and highlight aspects of the threat and how we address it that may not be apparent to those of us who've been dealing with this for years.
Right. Very, very well said. What advice? Let's put on a little recruiter hat for a moment, if we can, sir. What advice would you give someone who would like to join OSI, as you've been now a member of the organization for a few years?
Be someone who's open to being a professional student. Understand that the work requires patience. There's no instant gratification. Be intellectually curious. That's going to help. And really lean on the leadership team and the more experienced members of your team to help you along.
Right. Well, very good words. Okay. Before we let you go, sir, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I just want to thank you for taking the time to bring me on.
Well, sir, it's been our pleasure. Our guest has been Mr. Aaron Davies, Far East Branch Analyst with the OSI Investigations, Collections, Operations Nexus Center. Sir, thanks again for taking the time to be with us, and you have a great one.
You too. Take care.
And thanks to all of you listening for tuning in. For OSI Today, I'm Wayne Amon saying so long for now.